How close are you to getting back in the room? What do you miss most about not being in school?
I miss most obviously seeing my friends and all the after school activities that I've done. And I think that we're very, very close getting back to school. And I think that the way that our new
Right.
president is handling things is a very good way. And we would have not have gone to this if it were still the last president.
Really? That's hard to believe because the last president was saying, I want every kid back in school. Lily, for you, what is your hope knowing the numbers are going down and the governor might be opening up?
Brian Kilmeade is 56. The kid he's arguing with is 11. Like, what are you doing, man? This all came about when Fox and Friends decided to host a panel with children to discuss their experiences with remote learning. Now, the point here was to exploit these kids to try and get some good sound bites that Fox could then use to paint Joe Biden, Democrats, and Democrat-aligned entities in a bad light. And if you need proof of that, consider that Kilmeade told one California 8th grader to, quote, blame your politicians and unions for delays in her district's return to full-time in-person learning. Because what 8th grader isn't equipped to lead a charge against their local teachers union? I'm sure they'll get right on top of that once they're done with, science homework. But it wasn't until Kilmeade got to the student from this video clip where even the mildest praise of Joe Biden and criticism of Trump was enough to send him off the deep end. Like, these Fox hosts are such blind sycophants when it comes to Trump that they will literally argue with a 6th grader on national television. That's what Fox News has resorted to, arguing with kids to defend the honor of a one-term president who lost by 7 million votes and led an insurrection on the US Capitol. But sure, it's the children who are immature. Got it. Consider too, this argument is especially strained and desperate considering the majority of school districts across the US have already resumed in-person learning. And that is owed in large part to the work being done by this administration to actually get people vaccinated. In less than 100 days, the White House was able to oversee 200 million shots, and that sent the number of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths plummeting, which in turn has allowed for schools to resume in-person learning. This is all part of a coordinated effort, thanks to a government that's actually focused on getting people vaccinated, as opposed to a government that's focused on overturning a free and fair election to install the guy who lost the election into a second term. Funny what you can get done when you're not wasting your time trying to subvert democracy. Now, Kilmeade was right about one thing. Trump did say that he wanted to get every kid back in school, but that was in the middle of the pandemic, without precautions or significant preventative measures or mass vaccinations, which would have led to even more of a surge of the virus, which was the reason schools were closed in the first place. It's like these people are physically incapable of understanding the concept of cause and effect. And by the way, if Republicans had truly wanted schools to be reopened like Kilmeade is grandstanding about here, they'd have spoken up months ago when they still had the chance to contain the virus. But of course, none of them did because it was more important to kowtow to Trump than stop the pandemic. And so now, they're suddenly losing their minds over the fact that some schools are still closed, as if the reason that schools are closed in the first place isn't because of the deadly virus spreading across the country. We all wanted schools to be reopened, but because Republicans decided that mitigation wasn't important, because they decided to fight back against mask mandates and stay-at-home orders and lockdowns, the virus was able to explode throughout the US. So if these people are angry that schools had to be shut down along with everything else, they might want to rethink their decision to push back against the only measures we ever had to actually contain the pandemic. So look, the fact is that whether they're complaining about a problem that they themselves helped exacerbate with the closing of schools because of an unleashed virus, or their inability to pry their lips off the ass of Donald Trump to the point where a 56-year-old man is arguing with a 6th grader on air, Fox News really isn't doing themselves any favors. They're just proving that even children have more common sense than a propaganda network for Republicans. To see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. And for a deeper dive, check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I discuss the week's top stories and interview major players in the world of politics, like Vice President Kamala Harris, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, Katie Porter, Pete Buttigieg, Nancy Pelosi, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.